right, you guys, video 1 for converting general form to vertex form. And the reason this is video 1 is because, first of all, we have to review factoring our general form. So that's what this one's all about. Go ahead and write this down while I'm talking about what I have written down already. We have our example. We're going to go through that. Then we're going to have some steps and do some practice problems. Under academic language, I've already thrown up coefficient and variable. And under review, I have factors. Okay? So if you have any questions of those, let me know when you come to class. For the first step, and we'll write these down later, but for the first step, what we're going to do is we're going to draw an area model. All right, so something we just learned when we were converting the opposite direction from vertex form to general form. So we're going to create our area model, and then we're going to fill it in. So if you look at our example problem we have already, we have 3 terms. So this would be a trinomial, right? A certain type of polynomial, a trinomial. Our first term is made up of the 1, and that's called a, and that's the coefficient. That's the number part of that term. And the variable part, x squared, is the also part of the first term. And we just learned this when we were talking about polynomials, right? So that's our first term. Our second term, our coefficient 2, and we're going to start calling that b. And the variable x, that's all part of our second term. And our third term is c, and that's just the number, right? Remember we called that a constant when it doesn't have a variable. It's still a term. And it actually does have a variable. It's just x to the 0 power, right? But we don't look at that. So c, and that's our third term. And I want you guys to know these things because that's how I'm going to be talking about them. So in our area model, let's start filling it in. And what that means is we're going to put our third term in this box and our first term in this box. Okay, so this is x squared. You could keep the 1x squared if you wanted, or just put x squared. And our third term, negative 24. And what we want to do is start figuring out what's going to be on the outside of our area model. So we know this first one is easy. To get x squared, we have to multiply x times x, right? Now, the rest is a little bit confusing because this is not a perfect square, okay? So what we need to start doing is finding the factors of negative 24. And what I mean by that is remember just like the practice problems, what number times what number can give us negative 24? So let's start making a little table here. We have negative 4 times positive 6. Remember, one's going to have to be a negative and one's going to be a positive to get a negative answer. We could do it the other direction. We could have a negative 6 times positive 4. We could have negative 8 times positive 3, negative 3 times positive 8. And then what would the last one be there? Oh, 24 and 1. Those are our factors, right? Negative 24 and positive 1, or negative 1 and positive 24. Now, let's go back and actually add these numbers up, because what we know is that whatever we add up in these two boxes, our last two boxes, have to equal the second term. So whatever we add up in there has to be positive 2x, okay? So, but our x is already there on one side, so which of these factor pairs are going to add up to be positive 2, which is our second term there? So negative 4 plus 6, that's going to be positive 2. Look, I did it on the first time, but let's go ahead and see what the rest of these are. Negative 6 and positive 4 is going to be negative 2. Negative 8 plus positive 3 is going to be negative 5. Negative 3 plus positive 8 is going to be positive 5. Negative 24 plus 1 is negative 23. And negative 1 plus 24 is going to be positive 23. Okay, so the first one was the charm. We're going to have, and it doesn't matter which place you put them, negative 4 and positive 6. So this becomes 6x. This becomes negative 4x. All right, so the way we would write this in factored form would be x minus 4, which you can see at the top here, x minus 4. And then the other side of our area model, which is x plus 6. So this is the factored form of x squared plus 2x minus 24x. Now let's write down the steps that we did to do this. Step 1 is we set up our area model. Step 2, and I'm just going to read the rest of the steps, and I want you to write them down. You may have to listen to them a couple of times. And this way I know that you have listened to my notes and not just written down what I had on there. So step 2 is fill in the parts that you know. Fill in the parts that you know. Step 3 is find factors of C that add up to B. Find factors of C that add up to B. And step 4 is rewrite general form to factored form. Step 4, the final step, is rewrite the general form to the factored form. Okay? Now, you probably had to pause and you're back now. I'm going to change papers. You might still have some paper there, or on the left-hand side of your notebook, you feel free to do your practice problems there. Let's just do a few more to make sure that you have got this. I'll do a couple with you completely, but then I'll just set you up for them. So let's do this one. X, here's general form, x squared plus 7x plus 6. So step 1 was set up your area model. Okay, and fill in. Step 2 was fill in what I know, right? So I know my first term goes here. My third term goes here. I know that this has to be x, this has to be x, so I'm looking for the other parts here and here. Step 3, find factors of C. C is 6. So what are some factors of 6? I have, and it's a positive 6. So I have 2 and 3. Negative 2 and negative 3, because a negative times a negative is also a positive. 6 times 1 and negative 6 times negative 1. All right, and I think that's all of my factors there for positive 6. So which one of those add up to be positive 7? 2 plus 3 is positive 5. Negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. 6 plus 1 is positive 7, and negative 6 plus negative 1 is negative 7. So I'm looking for positive 7, so that means I have positive 6 and positive 1. So plus 6, plus 1. Last step 4, rewrite general form to factored form. Okay, so we just take the top part of our area model, x plus 6, times x plus 1. Okay, so here's general form, and here is factored form. All right, I have 2 more examples, but I'm just going to help you get them set up, and I'm going to need you to do them on your own, okay? So the next one is x squared minus 4x plus 3. And then x squared plus 5x minus 24. Let's set up our area model. Third term goes here. First term, I know this is going to be x and x. And then you need to find factors of 3. And it's positive 3, so that's going to be 3's prime, so it's just going to be 3 times 1, and negative 3 times negative 1. So which of those factors add up to negative 4? The rest is up to you. I need you to write your factored form here underneath when you're done. And let's set up the last one. Here's our area model. First term, third term, x, obviously, x and x. It's not always going to be that way, but for this one it is. Oops, you guys. I'm going to have to write the area model on the other side because it's not coming up. Okay. I'll just get you started on the factors. The rest is up to you. But I think this is very similar to the first one we did. All the factors of 24 should be the same. So I'll leave that to you. Negative 24. And they need to add up to be positive 5. All right, good luck. Please see me if you have any questions.